Welcome to Addicted to Busy, the podcast specifically for overachieving property managers who are dying for a little more work-life balance in their lives. Each week, we dismantle all the BS that holds us back. You'll learn how to nix those tricky, self-sabotaging habits so that you have the time, energy, and motivation to create what you really want in life. If you're looking to shift from overcommitted to overjoyed, this is the podcast for you. Let's do this. Now, your host, Anna Haviliana.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Addicted to Busy. I am so excited to be back because it has been over a year since I've posted. And if you are the target audience for this podcast, you probably already know why. I got over busy and overcommitted, hence the whole name of this show. But truly, last year was an immensely busy year. It was a lot. So back in January, I took over a new property, and it was a bigger property. It was a demographic that I had never worked with, and it posed a lot of challenges that I just had not seen in my career. And then later in the year, I actually made a company change and stepped into a completely new title. And I'm not going to lie, the new title, this has pushed me. And it continues to push me day after day. For me, it's a role where I am stepping into a higher level of leadership. And with that came a whole new set of challenges that I just didn't even know to expect. And there have definitely been moments where I have felt stretched and moments where I've had to make decisions that I didn't always feel ready for. And because of that, I'm doing a lot of learning in real time. So to say that I've experienced growing pains would be putting it lightly. On top of that, last year, I actually had the opportunity to participate in the DLP program with the National Apartment Association, which was such an amazing experience. Throughout the whole course of the year, I got to be in mostly a virtual room, but in a room with other strong leaders in our industry who are also trying to grow together and get better. And that pushed me in a different kind of way. Speaking of NAA, I also got to attend Apartmentalize for the first time. And oh my God, that was an experience. Like, I had heard all of the stories about this conference and what it was going to be like, but actually being there, yeah, I mean, it definitely lived up to all of the hype that I had heard over the years. For example, one night I ended up being front row at a Kenny Chesney concert at the Sphere. And then the next night, I'm not even joking when I say this, I was literally on stage in a DJ booth at a Ludacris show. And I just remember the whole weekend thinking, oh my God, what is my life right now? What is happening? So it was wild, but in the best way possible. And then all of the hype and fanfare aside, the conference itself was intense. I mean, there were just so many options for you to choose from. It was so well run. The speakers were amazing. We got to hear from a lot of industry leaders, software and technology leaders, and then I even got to see Simone Biles speak, which was really cool. So I am so thankful that I got to be a part of that program and all of the connections that I made as a byproduct of that. So the other thing that happened last year, and it was probably one of the more memorable moments, was I got to take an extended trip to Ireland with my parents. And that moment in time really meant a lot to me. First of all, Ireland has always been a place that my mom has wanted to go because our family has Irish roots. And my dad has spent most of his career traveling internationally. But Ireland was one of the few places in the world that my dad had not been. So it was a once in a lifetime, first time experience for all of us together. And there wasn't any rushing. I didn't feel like there were many distractions because my team back home had everything together. And that trip was worth it. I had to do a lot of prep to get ready to go, which meant, a few late nights at the office, but every single late night leading up to that was worth it for the experience that I got to have with my family. So there were moments as I prepped for that, where I started to feel stretched thin. But then once I got there, everything was totally worth it. So, with all of that going on last year, I'm still salsa dancing, I'm still running, maybe not doing it perfectly, but I'm definitely being really, really consistent. So, throughout all of the changes and projects that I took on last year, I'm still reminding myself that I am a person and have a completely separate life outside of my job. And so, as that came to be, the podcast really took a back seat. Last year I was still getting to speak at various conferences. I was in Raleigh, New Mexico, Portland, Vancouver. I think I was in Texas once. So, throughout prepping through all of that, time just ran short. And I remember after one of the presentations I did, I got to have lunch with the board of that association. And I can't remember the exact question, but one of the attendees asked me something to the effect of, like, how do you fit it all in? And seeing as I had just given a full hour presentation on time management, I did feel a little bit of pressure to have a good answer, but I simply said, I just don't. Like, I don't do it all. When I was in the thick of turn season, I literally couldn't do everything. So I had to choose. I had to choose whether I was going to work on the podcast or go take a dance class. And I chose dance because I knew that that was going to be what helped keep my spirits up while we were navigating the thick of turn season. So when I think about this from a larger perspective, we're always choosing what we will and won't do. And that comes at the expense of something else. So for example, many years ago, I was on the executive board for my local IREM chapter. And that took a really big chunk of my time. I mean, I was volunteering for meetings, I had to attend meetings. The chair that I co-chaired was the social chair, so that meant organizing, planning a lot of events after work, and then cleaning up from those events, getting home late. So at that point in my life, it took a lot of my time. And that meant that I really didn't have much of a social life. But I will still say, like, it was totally worth it because all of those connections that I made in the industry and then all of the continuing education that I got, that has served me very well going forward. So for a time there, I was actively, actually, I take that back. I wouldn't say I was actively choosing my career over socializing, but I was, and I'm not judging myself for it now. At this point in my life, I have flipped it around a little bit. I'm choosing to spend a little bit more of my free time on myself instead of specifically just my career. And I have no doubt that in the future, probably the near future, I'll probably flip it back around and maybe choose to focus on some more career development instead of my social life. Right now, with a brand new job and a new position, my brain is in constant overdrive. So, as much as I would love to take on a new class or get another designation, the truth is that I just don't have the bandwidth for it anymore. I wish I was invincible, and I spent many years thinking that I was, but I have made that mistake one too many times, of putting too many things on my to-do list and then ending up a complete puddle on the floor. Right? If we think about this on an even larger scale, I have plenty of time for hobbies because I don't have kids, right? And I'm watching my niece and nephew grow up. I am watching more of my friends become parents. And it is amazing to see how parenthood has changed my family and changed my friends into this next version of themselves. And I definitely feel to some degree that, I'm missing out on something great because I don't have a family of my own. So while I talk about spending time on my hobbies, it does come at the expense that I'm not raising a family. And this is the truth, is that you just can't do everything. And so I don't. I love what I do on the podcast. I love sharing what I've learned about time management, emotional management, goal setting, you name it, whatever it is that brings you to this show. But I'm just like every other property manager who's just trying to get to the end of their day without getting yelled at by an angry tenant or investor. Okay. You can time block all that you want, and I highly suggest that you do. And you can turn off all of your notifications and you can change all of the bad habits and you can set boundaries and you can manage your calendar. But it's never going to change the fact that the on-call emergency line is going to continue to ring, usually at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday when you really need some sleep. There are so many things that we can't control, but that's why it's extra important to be aware of the things that we can. So here's the other thing is every time I think I finally have it all under control, something changes. And then I have to relearn how to do everything again, right? Some weeks I feel like I am on top of the world because I got as much sleep as I needed, but then maybe my diet falls to pieces. Or maybe other weeks I'm eating really well, but then I'm spending too much time on my phone. Or maybe one day I have a bad attitude, but I got everything done on my to-do list. And I think that this is the point, is that every time we make progress in one area, we tend to lose progress in another. It's this endless game of whack-a-mole, only the moles are all of the various areas of your life. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's about being thoughtful in where you choose to spend your time and energy. It's also about being curious about your weaknesses and being brave enough to face them down. I know it's cliche, but it is absolutely true. When I say that last year was a hard one, it wasn't because bad things happened to me. It's because I chose hard things to do and hard things to accomplish out of my own free will. And I would like to think that the resilience that I'm building now is hopefully going to be useful somewhere when the universe inevitably does decide to make life hard for me. So, in full transparency, my time has definitely been stretched. And on occasion, I have totally given into my addiction to being busy. But throughout all the busyness, there were a few things that I did that I'm proud of. So, first of all, I kept a very consistent movement schedule. So I'm not training for a race or doing CrossFit anymore, but I did manage to get daily movement in without booming and busting too much, right? I started to place more value on just getting outside and getting fresh air instead of trying to maintain some very perfect workout regime, which I have done that too. And for the most part, I am getting the amount of sleep that I need, right? So there's less staying up late to watch shows or scrolling into the early hours in the morning. And I'm working really hard right now to basically take stock of my cell phone and manage my screen time, actually looking at it and seeing how it's affecting either my sleep, my life, or my productivity. Food for me has always been a challenge when stress starts to get higher. And I'll be honest, I've gained a little weight, but I'm still doing my best to eat healthy, right? I'm also still salsa dancing. Some weeks I don't get to do it. But even if I dance even just a little bit in the kitchen while I'm cooking dinner, I still feel like I've done something, right? Throughout this last year, I actually tried a couple of new things as well. So I took a different style of comedy class to help me get more comfortable speaking on stages. In past episodes, I think I talked about how I took an improv class to really try and help shake me of my stage fright, because for as much as I do public speaking, it still freaks me out quite a bit. Other things I did this last year, I facilitated my first half-day workshop with an IREM chapter. I learned a lot from that experience. It's very different than just doing singular presentations. And then I also attempted to do cross-country skiing for the first time, which has been on my to-do list for years. So I'm constantly putting myself in situations that feel uncomfortable. So again, when I say that last year was hard, it's not a bad thing. These are all things that are very much self-inflicted. Again, I share all of these not to brag or to boast, right? But I want to share the different mindset shifts that I have learned and that have helped me stay consistent, because for many years I wasn't. You've heard me joke before that I think the property management industry attracts both a lot of people pleasers and perfectionists. And if you're a longtime listener, I guess that you likely fall into one of those categories just as much as I do. So I share these in the hopes that if you're relating to them in any way, that hopefully something starts to shift for you. Usually when I make these podcasts, I have a set theme and I research what I want to talk about. But in preparation for this one, I basically just wrote about whatever was on my mind. All right, so what is next? Will I still be making podcasts? Yes, but not frequently. With the upcoming things in my 2026 calendar, weekly podcasts, just not feasible, not possible. I have a couple of irons in the fire right now. I'm still traveling to speak at conferences. I'm still working a full-time job. I also found out that I'm going to be speaking at Inspire 2026 with the Florida Apartment Association. And I couldn't be more excited because I think I'm also going to take my first trip to Disneyland while I'm there. But that said, I do have very limited availability for speaking engagements. So if your company or organization is interested, please reach out and let me know. You can email me at hello@annahavliana.com. That's HELLO@ANNAJAV as in Vista, ELLANA.com. All right, as always, until next time, whenever that might be, I love you all. Keep going.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Addicted to Busy. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.